Hey guys, it's Dennis here with the Revog Games Podcast. I'm here with
Joshua Weyers, all the way from South Africa, and I'm so excited to talk about the news this week.
Yeah, except for we're going to be talking about it again because we actually had recorded this podcast yesterday on Zoom, and for some reason the recording got all messed up. I don't know if it was Zoom's fault or my internet or my computer or whatever, but when we got the actual podcast, it was all messed up. Even the audio, I couldn't save it, so we're recording it again. Talk about pretty much the same topics, but there are some slight updates to everything. All right, let's get into the first one. This was a pretty big news, especially if you're a fan of God of War. We have Sony Santa Monica. They posted a tweet looking for an art director for a development of a new unannounced title. So obviously this is not... they're already working on God of War Ragnarok. We know that's coming out. Is it supposedly this year? I don't know if it's going to be this year or not. It might get pushed back. Yeah, probably next year. But anyways, this is not related to God of War, at least the way they're making it sound. They said it's a genre-defining game, and that it will involve characters and creatures. They were working on a new sci-fi IP in 28 or prior, and it was supposedly canceled. So we don't know if they're creating a brand new sci-fi IP or a fantasy or anything like that. But this is, welcome news because, from the quality that we're getting out of God of War, a brand new title is just good news all around. What do you think?
Oh no, definitely. I mean, once ago, like you said, we did film this yesterday unsuccessfully, so we did get to speak about it yesterday. I'm just excited for it. Definitely going to be single player experience for sure. Like I don't see them doing anything multiplayer wise or anything that might involve multiplayer elements. Most likely going to be linear single player story paced game. I feel like it would I feel like they'd probably go for something that's still God of War-esque, but like God of War with more RPG elements seems like something that might be good for them to go for. And even though it'd be linear, I think that the world would still be like open world, but the story will be linear. You know what I mean? It would be nice to see an open world game for this. I was looking here at the requirements, and I still think it's funny that which true though. Look, if you're looking, especially for a big game like this, you do need to have some stuff under your belt. So they want you to have done a few things under your belt. You have to have shipped at least one AAA game title in which you are the art lead or art director, but preferably multiple. Other than that, though, there's really not much news or like any information we know about this other than they are working on something. It's exciting. I think it's going to be fantastic. Well, I mean, fantastic might be going a bit far, but I don't think it's going to be bad. I think it's going to do good regardless of whatever it is.
Got a good track record, especially with the last God of War. The question is when is this going to actually come out? Because if they're looking for art director now, which means is they're in pre-production phases, which means, they're trying to get the story and the art and the concept together. And maybe there's some sort of tech demo-esque thing that they're working on, but it's definitely not, if you're looking for an art director now for this project, it's definitely not very far along. So, the funny thing too, I think we talked about this before in the job posting on Twitter. It's like hot job art director, and you were saying like you saw the emojis, like, is this fake? Did someone put this out there?
It looks fake though. It does. Like legitimately, it's got the little fire emojis, hot job now, the little like suspicious link at the bottom. It looked like a competition. Like click here to possibly win a PlayStation 5. So yeah, looked a little fishy. But hey, man, if it works, it works. I'm sure they got a lot of applications from doing so.
I mean, the game probably won't come if they're in pre-production right now, 2021. What are we looking at?
I don't think they'll even
2023 at the earliest. Probably 2024 is my guess.
When do you think that we would get an announcement or like some sort of like hint as to what this is, either genre or
end of this year?
You know what I mean? You think end of this year?
Yeah, I think so.
That's optimistic.
I mean, you could throw out some tidbits. I mean, it depends. I mean, maybe they won't because they want to distract or take away the attention from God of War Ragnarok. Maybe they won't, but it's out there now. It's it's out there. Hey, they're working on this other title, so whether or not they're gonna continue with maybe a sci-fi thing like they previously tried, or if they're going to maybe do fantasy. I mean, if the art director job is looking for characters and creatures, that's kind of the two places that I kind of go to.
Yeah.
Is fantasy or sci-fi,
or even horror, but that's highly unlikely. Just
yeah,
the studio's path.
Yeah, I mean, horror usually you're not doing these big open games. The budgets are not as.
I would
as
like
big.
to see a sci-fi game, like a really good like action RPG sci-fi game. I would like to see that.
And then I think we talked about this too. Is probably going to still be third person, unless they want to do that switch that CD Projekt Red did from Witcher third person to first person on Cyberpunk. But most people kind of stick in their lane. I mean, like you said, maybe it's more RPG-ish, but still keeping with the third person action RPG with puzzles.
Yeah. Depending on whatever mechanics they're going for in terms of like combat mechanics, whatever combat mechanics they go for will, I think, define whether they go first person or third person. Most likely third person, because if you are just like defeating monsters using melee weapons, for instance, you're going to want to see that. You want to see the big swings, the big movements you do. But if you're using like crossbows or bow and arrows or even guns possibly, which I doubt the studio would use, I could see first person going. And look, first person is immersive. I got that immersion from a lot of games before, but with I don't know, just from what the studio has done before, I would prefer third person, but that like close, tight up third person behind your back that's in God of War.
Yeah. Another thing too is if you do fantasy though, it's very adjacent to God of War and kind of the Norse mythology that they were using. So that's more along the lines. Is it not different enough if they do fantasy, right? Let's say they do.
That's a good point.
Fantasy, medieval, or whatever. It's kind of a little adjacent to God of War. Would going sci-fi or maybe something else be? If they want to create a new IP that's differentiates itself from God of War.
Maybe even post-apocalyptic,
Fallout doesn't. I love those settings, but
yeah, Fallout doesn't own the post-apocalyptic genre, so exactly. So that'd be quite interesting actually, because I don't think but I mean, besides the Fallout games, there hasn't been any like really big successful post-apocalyptic games.
There's some smaller ones like Metro,
technically.
Metro,
post-apocalyptic.
You'll see some that play around with I mean, Borderlands is it's like partial partial post-apocalyptic, partial dystopian. There's a lot of dystopian and post-apocalyptic kind of blur the lines sometime. I mean, Cyberpunk is definitely more in the dystopian realm. Though it has
it would be really cool to see something like out there different. Like I think of one of my two of my favorite games, Shadow Warrior 1 and 2. The setting for that world is so interesting because it's like this weird like post-apocalyptic Japan, this like weird it's got this cyberpunk vibe, but there's no like technology, but it has that aesthetic, and it's like there are like demons and oni running around. And it's such a weird, it's just such a weird setting. I've never seen that kind of setting before. So I would like to see them do something out there, or maybe like cross genres that what, the heck with it. I want a space cowboy game. Why can't I have a space cowboy game? Give me my space western.
Who knows? All right, let's move on to the next subject. We've got Gabe Newell had an interview with a New Zealand's One News, and he announced that there's multiple games in development at Valve, which is a kind of a different approach than they've normally been doing lately. They've been doing things a lot in secret. I mean, they announced Half-Life Alyx in November. I mean, we knew they were working on something, but we didn't know what. They were like, we're working on a VR title, and it's a big project, and I thought it was Portal, just because I didn't think they were going to quote-unquote waste the Half-Life property on VR, which it was not a waste because it was freaking awesome. But they're now kind of more in the sense of, hey, we're working on this and that, and they're probably going to do much more earlier announcements and talk about the property. So, one, do you like this approach that they're taking now of being more open to the fan base? And two, what properties do you think they're going to work on? Ones they own or new properties?
I mean, look, I'm glad we're doing this podcast a second time because we did get to talk about it quite nicely. First of all, I'm glad that they have, like they said, they've got this fire lit underneath them. They actually have this motivation to be making games again. Because look, Half-Life Alyx came out of nowhere. Like the last game they did before Half-Life Alyx, I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was more than a decade. You know what I mean? There's definitely there was more than a decade gap in terms of like games released. I could be wrong. Because
when did Dota 2 come out?
Well, they
bought that IP though.
They did buy that, yeah. But that was a while ago as well. That was like that could be 2010 or could be earlier. But then again, also if they own Counter-Strike, CS:GO isn't that old either. But in terms of like big games or like single player games, it's been a while. So I'm excited that they have this fire lit underneath them. I'm excited that they have the motivation to keep going. Are we going to get Half-Life 3? Probably not. We're probably never going to get Half-Life 3. But we're going to get a bunch of other games, and I'm excited for that. You know, I spoke to you about the possibility of like, first of all, I want a Portal 3. I pray to God that they give us Portal 3, that's a game that they're working on, or at the very least, give us Portal 3 in VR. Like, that would be cool too. What I think is also a possibility, like you said, because you finished Half-Life Alyx, and it kind of ends off open-ended. Seems like there's going to be a sequel. So maybe it's. I don't think it's going to be. I don't think their next game is going to be Half-Life Alyx 2. I think they're going to release something else before then. And I know I was joking about it last night, but who knows? Maybe we get something like Half-Life John, or Half-Life Alice, or You know, we're gonna get a bunch of other Half-Life stories now. That'd be interesting. The last one was VR.
I'm the opposite of you. I think they're working on the next, the continuation off of Half-Life Alyx. I think they're working on it.
They're definitely
but I think it's
one.
one. I think it's just one of. Huh?
Do you think they're going to release it before? Do you think they're going to release that before anything else? Because I know for a fact that they're working on a sequel. I think they'll release something else before they release a sequel.
Yeah, but I mean that's the thing is he's saying multiple projects, multiple games. So, you know, like you said, like let's say Half-Life Alyx 2, or you have, like you mentioned, Counter-Strike. They own Team Fortress, Left 4 Dead, but Left 4 Dead they don't seem that interested in because they let those modders
back for blood.
There's the original. A lot of the original developers left, and we're doing Back for Blood, which is basically Left 4 Dead 3. And then you have the Dota series. So they have all these properties they can choose from, or they can create a new IP. You know, I mean, they can do both.
Yeah, I think Counter-Strike's fine as is. If they do anything to Counter-Strike, they'd be messing up an entire like ecosystem. Yeah. But it would be nice to see them bring back or get some hype into. People are still playing Team Fortress 2, but it'd be nice to see them, you know, bring it back for a third time. Maybe give it some more hype. But yeah, Portal 3, like they're definitely going to do something in the Portal universe. It's such a beloved like IP. They're definitely going to do something about that.
Yeah, definitely. And then, I just like this new approach of being a little more open and a little more. I mean, it was a nice surprise. Half-Life Alyx, like, hey, it's coming out, and it actually came out on time, you know, and actually polished. But I remember being wrong about that. I was like, there's no way they could do it, but apparently they worked on it in secret, and
I remember that.
Yeah, I was like, there's no way.
When it was like. When it was like a month or two away from releasing, you were like, "There's no way. There's going to be a delay. There's no way."
Yeah. But yeah, I'm just glad to hear that they're doing all that. Oh, did you want to talk about the whole geo-blocking thing that happened with the European Commission that involved Valve?
Yeah. Before we move on, because it does refer to Valve, which is that they were being investigated, as well as a bunch of other publishers were being investigated for geo-blocking, which is essentially like if you live in America and there is a sale on Steam in Germany or somewhere else, they geo-blocked you. They stopped you from changing your location to be able to access the sales in a different country. I remember saying that I haven't had any issues with this. Like I've been changing my location to access all sorts of sales on Steam and Epic Games for like a year or two now. But it makes sense why I have not been having any issues is because this investigation started in 2017. So clearly once you and they were being like all people involved were like, yes, investigate us. Like they even got like a discount on their fine. I think they got I can't remember how big of a discount, 10 to 15% discount on their fines, depending on how much they were cooperating with the investigations. But yeah, so they yeah. Let's see. Let's break down the cost here. So Valve got sued about 1.6 million pounds. I don't know what that is in dollars. In dollars, I think it's about that could be like $2 or $2.1 million. But yeah, 1.6 million pounds. That was Valve got sued. Bandai Namco got sued 340,000 pounds. Capcom got sued 396,000. Focus Home, who I still don't know who that is, they got sued 2.8 million pounds. Koch Media, that's the Koch brothers. That's like just another form of the Rockefellers of it's really, really rich people that don't need to be that rich. They got sued 977,000 pounds, which is literally chump change to them. They could tip that to a waiter if they wanted to. And then last but not least, Zenimax got sued 1.6 million pounds, which to them also I'm sure is not that big of a hit. You know what I mean? For most of these people, they weren't that big of a hit. They were completely helping with it as well. But yeah, the case finally came to a close sometime this week. So yeah, they lost obviously, but once again, I guess all the people knew they were going to lose because they were helping the investigation.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a slap on the wrist for companies of that size. You know what I mean?
It really is. Yeah.
Whenever you see like Google or Apple, they get fined X amount of dollars for either like anti-competitive practices or something like that. It's always like 1.2 million, 3 point whatever, and like to them, it's like, of course they don't want to lose that, but it doesn't do anything to them. So it's just slap on the wrist. And then I think I ranted about this yesterday. It's like a lot of times, you'll have these kind of lawsuits or class action things, and consumers end up getting $10 or $5. Like I've gotten tons of things in the mail that are like, oh, be part of this class action lawsuit that you purchased X from this person, and you end up getting
you might be compensated.
Yeah, you get like $5, $10, $20 max or whatever. It's not like you're getting a significant amount of money. And then I think it's just a way a lot of lawyers are making a lot of dough.
Yeah, well, that's usually the case. Like I know I've been in that where it's like, have you had this medication before? You might be liable to some compensation, and it's like, you know what? I want some money. Meanwhile, some other lawyer or corporation's making millions, and you're just gonna get your 20,
and you get $3 or whatever,
and the side effects that came with that medication.
yeah.
But yeah, so that was worth bringing up.
Okay, cool. All right, and the next thing I'm going to talk about is Hitman 3. It just came out a few days ago, which is like the end of this particular trilogy of this, particular storyline, and it's getting pretty good reviews. And I watched and read some of them, and Hitman is a franchise that I've played a little bit of, but not a lot, but I do enjoy it. And just watching this latest one, it kind of looks up my alley because they talk about how great the locations are. There's only 6, but they said they're huge. They're massive. They're like, one is this like super tall skyscraper. One is like this old time mansion / manor. There's a rave. And you kind of go around exploring and obviously committing your assassinations. And they said there's a lot of good humor to it, and that even if you follow the main storyline and do what you need to do, there's still plenty of other kills and other side things that you can do upon replay. So I don't know. I was kind of, if I didn't have such a backlog of stuff that I need to play, I'd probably be interested in getting it. How about you?
Well, first of all, a huge fan of the Hitman series, the original series. I didn't really get to play much of this soft reboot, if you will, because I believe it was a soft reboot in 2017. 2016, yeah. And then I think 2018 was Hitman 2. I did play a bit of Hitman 2 because it was free on PlayStation at one point on PS Plus, and I was very, very surprised by how fun it was, like the stealth aspects of it, you know. It's a solid game, though. if I was going to get Hitman 3, I would have to play the first two again to follow the story, because it's the ending of this trilogy. It is like a continuation of the story, and I actually managed, because I think last night I told you that I wouldn't buy the game until I see more gameplay, and I've been watching gameplay today. Actually, I've been watching people play it today, and it looks fun, dude. Like, I actually really want to play Hitman 3, but I can't allow myself to play it until I've played 1 and 2. Um, apparently, you can
You
knock
play in
people out with
VR. You play 1 and 2 in VR now.
That's awesome. That's actually really awesome. The game itself, apparently you can knock people out with a banana, which I found out, and the game doesn't really tell you that, because there's a difference between placing items and dropping items. So if you drop a banana, it doesn't do anything. But if you're like if you're just standing in the middle of nowhere, you can place the banana on the floor, and sure as shit, if someone walks over it, they will slip on it and knock their head. But the game doesn't tell you this. Someone managed to find this out. The game doesn't like tell you that you can just place objects in certain situations, and it's a huge difference between dropping it on the ground, like if you're actually placing it as a use. So yeah, that was quite funny. You can also throw the banana at people, and apparently it just knocks them down, but they get back up. But if you place it, they can slide it and actually knock themselves out, which is just absolutely hilarious. I hope that there's some modes in this that has, or at least like in the older Hitman games, you had this thing where, look, it is a stealth game. It's a stealth killer, no matter how you look at it. But there were like times in the older Hitman games where if you upgraded your character enough, you upgraded your guns enough, you could go in guns blazing. So I hope that, like, if I wanted to, I could go guns blazing. Then again, Hitman's also been the kind of game where it's like you can go guns blazing, you're just going to get less points. You know, you get more points for the stealth kills and stuff. It looks a lot of fun. That's all I really have to say for it. But there's also some current issues, I believe, on PC. So if you're playing this on console and you have played Hitman 1 and 2, the good news is that your progress and your saves carry over. There's the save transfer that you can do from Hitman 1 and 2. But if you're on PC, the issue was that previously the games were, I believe, on Epic, and they are now on Steam. So they've actually had to develop a third-party site that helps you transfer your Epic Games saves over to be able to like work through your Steam version of Hitman 3. And that site is currently overwhelmed. So a lot of people are having errors and things like that about it. I'm not too sure what like I guess unless maybe it changes story aspects to the game, but I wonder what the use of carrying over your save and progress from the previous Hitmans are.
I think it's just story choices, maybe. I don't know.
It's got to
maybe stats of your character
choices.
and story choices.
I mean, look, it must be important if a lot of people are doing it, and it's like breaking this third-party website they set up, you know? So that was an issue too. But it looks good. The game's out right now.
Yeah.
I was not really that like hyped on buying it right now, but I saw it's super cheap here in my region. It's like, I think in dollars, it's like, I want to say $30 maybe.
Wow.
Or less. Yeah, it's really cheap here. So
it was $10 off here, so it was like $50 instead of 60, but that's about it.
Yeah, it's like 30 here, maybe even less. Could be like 25, 30, somewhere between the $25 to $30 mark. So hey, if you want, you know, now that you know what geo-blocking is and that it doesn't really exist, change your address to South Africa and pick up the game for like
$30.
Wait, hold on. Where was this? I saw it on Epic though. Let me just confirm, because I know it's moved over to Steam, but you can still get it on Epic as well. Because at least, let me just double check before I go out and say that, and then people yell at me. You lied to me. Yeah, no, it is here. Yeah, it's like probably about $28-$29 on South Africa. So yeah, you can change your location and buy the game through that way.
Cool. All right, let's move on to the next thing. Resident Evil Village, which is Resident Evil 8. They announced a release date, which is May 7th, and they released a 5-minute gameplay trailer, and then also an exclusive PS5 demo. Now, in the demo, there's no combat, and you don't play as the main character, Ethan Winter. You play as a character named Maiden. So, yeah, you don't play as Ethan Winters. Play as Maiden, maybe just to get a sense of the environment and whatnot. gameplay. This is something I asked you was, how did you like the change from third person to first person in the last Resident Evil, which is now looks like that's kind of the move that they're going forward, because Resident Evil was known as a third person, game. I mean, first they had that what they call the tank controls, right, where you're pushing forward to go straight, but depending on what direction you're going in. And they eventually changed that to the modern third person movement, where you just use a stick and you just go wherever. But now it's a first person game. What do you think about that change and the gameplay that they showed?
Well, I finished Resident Evil 7. It was I finished a couple of the old Resident Evils, like 2 and 3, I believe, back when I was younger, but I don't really remember it that much.
Mm-hmm.
But Resident Evil 7, I finished in both VR and non-VR. That sounds like I did 2 playthroughs. I didn't. I did 1 playthrough, and I constantly switched between VR and non-VR.
Okay.
And like I told you before, I found it scarier in non-VR, because in VR, it was like there were things where it's like, look, like someone can attack you, but then you can like put your face through their body,
Mm-hmm.
and it like breaks the immersion. And turning was really difficult. Like you would turn in angles, so the camera would be like jarring, and that kind of threw me out of it. So I found it more scary without that. But in first person, super immersive, a lot more horrifying, more suspenseful. Like when you're hiding behind something, it really feels like you're hiding behind something. Like it's so much more scary if you're hiding behind something, because you can't look. You know what I mean? If you look, then you're seen, kind of thing. And if you're in third person, when you're hiding behind something, you still have that whole extra camera view. You can watch the scary creature, scary person thing walk by. But if you're in first person, you don't get that luxury. You don't even know if they're there. You're just hiding.
Oh man,
So
that's the thing, is like, I think maybe because that game wasn't like really made. There's a VR mode, but it wasn't like made for VR. I think you need to play like something like Half-Life Alyx. It's not a horror game, but there's definitely horror elements to it, and also with the VR immersion, like in combat or in general, you can duck around and look and peek, and there's certain creatures that come
face
out.
huggers, man. Those can be scary. Okay.
So it's intense and it's very scary. So I can't wait till you play something like that, because I think your idea of like, oh, VR is not that scary, or at least your Resident Evil experience wasn't that scary.
Oh no, VR is scary. I've had some horrifying VR experiences before. It's just that one for me wasn't. It was still it still had suspense to it. You know what I mean? It was more suspenseful than scary, but it's like, no, I've had some horrifying VR experiences before. That one was just done badly. Like, for instance, the VR camera shouldn't have been clipping through the enemies' bodies. Like, I feel like that was a rookie mistake. But then again, it was on PSVR, and they couldn't like make it flawless. You know what I mean? Anyway, moving forward though, the combat in this game looks sick, because there's like, in Resident Evil 7, there wasn't much combat. You're just kind of hiding and collecting things. And there's like way more combat than I was expecting. It actually looks kind of fun. Like it looks like there are times where like I should be afraid in this game, but me personally, I'm just gonna be like guns blazing, like, yeah, get it, Graphics look amazing. I think I told you this last night, where the thing that blew me away the most was actually the texture mapping, and the textures specifically on the skin. Like the skin looks really real and things like that. A lot of memes have been coming out since this announcement, which is that people are talking about the 7-foot tall goth ladies, and everyone's like, "Are we supposed to be afraid or turned on?" Because there's even like, because there's this like one like really what's the like the politically correct term for big boobs? Oh well, she got big boobs, big boobs, goth lady, and she's like a zombie vampire thing, and she's supposed to be scary, but everyone's like, she looks hot, dude. Like, this is not gonna be. I'm not gonna be afraid of her. I'm gonna be like, yes, ma'am. Tell me where to go and what to do.
Nice.
So everyone's saying that, and I agree, because I looked at it again, and I was like, besides the fact that they're tall, they are really tall. They're not scary. They're like really good looking, which is funny. It is. Oh yes. Speaking of, so. Resident Evil Village will include a 6-player deathmatch game called Reverse. So if you get Resident Evil, it's going to come with an interesting little 6-person deathmatch game. Not too much news around that. It's going to be like, they say it's a comic book style dot pattern filter. So it's going to It's gonna. Oh, let me actually look through this real quick. Yeah, it actually. I like the filter they put on it. You know, like
Mhm.
I'm looking at some of the gameplay right now. It's interesting. It's not obnoxious. The filter's not obnoxious. It's actually very subtle. That like dotted kind of filter that you get.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it's very subtle, which I like. I'm not. There's not like much we know about it. Oh, you know what? This is cool. When players are defeated in combat, their character respawns by mutating into a bioweapon to enact revenge on their foes. So that's really cool. So when you die, you can come back as a bioweapon. All
Nice.
right. It looks kind of fun. I think that this looks like one of those things where people are going to play it and it's going to like blow up more than the actual game itself. Like people are going to like I feel like cuz there's nothing about this little six-person deathmatch game
Mhm.
that looks amazing, but it just seems like that small like if you had to show me Among Us before I knew what Among Us was, I wasn't going to be like, "Oh, this is going to be a huge cultural hit," you know?
No.
And it just seems like one of those games that's going to be very well received. People are going to love Resident Evil Village, but years from now they might still be playing this interesting little six-person deathmatch game, you know?
Yeah.
So that was quite interesting.
Hmm. All right, let's move on. Speaking of movies, I mean, we have the Resident Evil Netflix series that's in the works, and I believe
Yeah.
also
Oh,
isn't there a
there's a
movie as
movie.
well? Yeah, as well. There's a
Yeah,
movie
they
and a
just
Netflix
teased.
series. Uncharted, a movie we've been talking about for a while, has been delayed. It's moved from July 16th, 2021 to February 11th, 2022, which is no big surprise. We've talked about it a lot, saying like with when they started with COVID and the production issues plus marketing and people being in theaters, July 16th is just not an opportune time, one, to finish the movie, and two, for people to actually go see it in theaters and get your return, you know. So it just makes sense for them to push it to next year. I mean, I guess at the late or the earliest they probably could have done, I mean, assuming that production and post production were done with it, they could do like ending this year, but they're just probably just worried like, what if there's still restrictions and then we got to push till next year.
I'm so sorry. What did you say?
I was talking about Uncharted,
Yeah,
Uncharted getting
Uncharted got
delayed.
delayed again. Well, I mean, aren't they pretty much done with filming? So this is more
I
like
don't think
post-production.
so. I don't believe
Like,
so. Are they done?
because I know they went back to filming sometime end of last year, which actually wasn't that long ago, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
so they
don't
couldn't
think
have
they're
gotten
done. I
much
think they're
done.
still in production.
Yeah,
I don't think they've wrapped
because
yet.
yeah, I understand. Like, well, look, a delay is completely understandable, everything considered. I don't think it's going to be a huge delay, though. You know, well,
Hmm.
like delays are inevitable. You know.
Yeah, let me take a look to see if they're talking development production.
Unless it's like now, because with all these delays going on, I'm sure that a lot of actors are having issues where they're having contracts overlap and shoots overlap. You know, like because they want to start Spider-Man 3 soon. You know, we were supposed to get a trailer, I think, for Spider-Man 3. Well, there was like a rumored leak that we were going to get a trailer on Christmas, but we never did. I think they're
Okay. Oh,
still waiting for
you're right. I'm
Tobey
looking at it right
Maguire.
now. It did wrap on October 29th, so it must be
Yeah,
more
so it's
for
post-production
well, not just pro. They're probably thinking of one, marketing, and then two, their return,
cinemas.
releasing in July.
Yeah.
I mean, remember we talked about this last time about the Tenet thing. Like, right, you
Yeah,
watched it,
man.
you loved it. It was a
They
horrible
deserve
time
more
to put it
money.
out. It
Yeah.
was a horrible time to put it out. I know Nolan wanted to like prop up the movie theater industry and the theatrical experience, but it was just it was I don't know what
And
the
I
word
nerdgasmed
is.
so I like film nerdgasmed
Mhm.
so hard in that movie because there was so much amazing like cinematography shots, so much like high stakes action, and then
Mhm.
also like you can tell when you watch that movie, you can tell that the budget must have been insane just for the explosions alone, you know. So it sucks that I'm sure the movie did well, but like not as well as what it could have done. And I'm
Yes.
sure Uncharted is in 100% the same position where it's like, look, we just spent a lot of money on this. It's going most likely it's an IP that they want to do a whole trilogy on. I wouldn't be like most likely we're going to see a trilogy for Uncharted movies, and there's no way that we're going to get a trilogy if they release this movie this year and no one goes and watches it because of lockdown. You know?
Yeah, not based on
So,
quality. I
just
mean, that's the
smart,
thing
yeah.
with Tenet. You have Christopher Nolan, which is one of the most popular and well-known directors today. People will go see his movies, much like a Tarantino or whatever, where
True.
you only hear that who's directing and you go watch the movie. And, you know, it wasn't like a complete flop at the box office, but it definitely was not where it could have been if there was no pandemic going on right now. It was just, I don't know. I do think it was an ill-advised move. Because then the rest of the streaming, the industry just looked at it like even a Nolan film can't make, you know, people go to the theaters. And so everything shifted to streaming.
No,
So-
yeah, no, it's true, man. Like you said it yourself. Like if Christopher Nolan couldn't make it through putting his film out in a lockdown, then who else can? And they've been finding some success by having this whole $20 rental thing on the day of release, but it's also like piracy has gone up drastically. You know what I mean? Like film piracy in general. Because of this, like because they're releasing it on streaming sites, it's a lot easier, or they're releasing it for like DVD. It's going to DVD quicker than what it needs to, you know, or like, well, it's like there's no way around it, unfortunately. I guess all they can do is just hopefully more governments can like crack down on piracy. I know my government doesn't. Like people pirate all day, every day out here. But yeah, so it's sad news, but hey, you know, like it seems like one of those movies I want to watch it in the cinema. I'd rather wait and actually enjoy cinema experience, you know, because I watched
Yeah,
Tenet
so do
in
I.
my
But some people are in a. I mean, we talked about this before. With you have a movie I'm looking forward to, which is King Kong versus Godzilla, and it's coming out in March. Which we know the pandemic's not going to be over by March. It's going to come out on theatrical and on HBO Max at the same time. Sorry, I mean, I want to see it in the theater, but I'm not going to the theaters to watch it.
Oh, yeah,
One,
it's way
there are
too
no theaters
dangerous.
open in California. Even if they were, I'm not going out there. I don't trust other people. I know people, you know, sit in a room for 2 hours to, you know, keep their masks on, and people are eating popcorn and drinking. And dude, you walk on the street.
They're not going to keep their masks on, man.
You walk on the street and people can't keep their mask. You know what I mean? Like people, you go into a grocery store and they're where it's required to have a mask, and they have a mask and their nose is peeking. Like, come on, man. Like, you want me to go in a movie theater with people? Yeah, you want me to go into a movie theater and sit there with people like masks off, crunching their popcorn and drinking their drinks and laughing and dying, and like, you know, in an unventilated room? No, I don't think so.
No. But it does, like I said, it does suck, because the one thing, while watching Tenet, the only thing I was thinking was, God, I wish I was watching this in cinema, you know? Like, which is what it is. But also, I wouldn't go to a cinema. Like, even, like, our cinemas are open, and I'm not going. Like, hell no. Like you said, I don't trust people. Yeah. But moving forward, why don't you tell us about Apple's VR headset?
Yes. So there's a Bloomberg report that says that Apple is working on their first VR headset, and it's going to be very expensive and very niche, which is kind of the opposite direction of where VR is going right now with the success of the Oculus Quest, and especially the Oculus Quest 2 that recently came out, which is only $300. It's self-contained. You don't need a computer for it. The resolution is higher than before. It's not as powerful as a PC version of VR, but it's still pretty good. This sounds more like they're going to put high-end chips in there. They're looking at comfort issues, because comfort is one of the main things with VR that you need to address. And so this sounds like a solution that is going to be easily over $1,000, you know, maybe $1,500. You know, we saw what they did with the AirPods Pro Max, which is the new headset, the noise canceling headset, which is $550. They use premium materials for that, but it is $550. Like people like myself who are willing to spend around $300 for noise canceling Bluetooth headsets, like this is the Bose Quiet Comfort 2, which you could have got for $200 on Black Friday. I think it's like $250 right now. But anyways, that's around the price range that most people are accustomed to. And so I think Apple's taking that type of approach to VR. It's like, okay, well, we're not really going to sell a lot of these, even though I heard the AirPods Pro Max is sold out. But we're going to make it super, super premium, and then just the people who can afford to will buy it. Who knows? I mean, maybe it sells well, but it sounds like they're more doing it to advance technology for their AR solution in the future, which AR is going to kind of be the more consumer friendly technology that both well, not both, but like Apple, Google, Microsoft, and a bunch of other companies are working on, because that's something that hypothetically you put on. It's what Google Glasses was, but we're thinking much more advanced, where people are going to walk around.
It would have in the long term, AR would have a better reach and a bigger market as well. Because VR is definitely entertainment, straight up entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
AR can be anything. I mean, obviously you can think of the uses for the medical field and stuff like that, but just like Google Maps, for instance, or things like that. It's like reinventing the glasses. You know what I mean? You're just gonna sell more, so it makes sense. I think I agree with you. I completely agree with you. I think that this is because look at like you said, look at the AirPod Max Pros, right? It's $550 for a headset that is probably as good as any other $300 headset.
Yeah,
and you're paying about an extra $250 for that. Like, I guarantee you, I mean, for like around the $400 like $350 markup point, I can point out some like amazing like starter studio headphones you could use. You know what I mean? I have JBL's counterpart to the ones you're wearing right now, the JBL Elite. I forget what they're called, but it's the same price as your headphones, noise cancellation, all that stuff. Also very comfortable. I have had the opportunity of wearing a pair of AirPod Max Pros. Those are the most comfortable things I've worn. There are some gaming headsets that I've worn that are more comfortable, but yeah, it's just once again, you're paying an extra $250 for something for the brand, for the look of it, for the theme
it's
of
more
it.
a fashion thing. Yeah. I think we talked about this where it's the price point is not as high as like super premium professional studio headphones. However,
it's like that in between point.
But they're more expensive than you're talking about your Sony MX 4000 or is it 3000, 4000 now, I think, or whatever. You're talking about the Bose Quiet Comforts. Yeah, those are all in the 300, 350 range, and it's more premium type of material. You're talking about more, perhaps the noise canceling is slightly better, but I think headphones at this point, the sound quality and the noise cancellation are at a point where, like, yes, you can get better, but it's not going to be the jump is not going to go so much higher that you're like, oh man, $250 more. But anyways, relating it back to
well. That's the one thing for sure. It's gonna sell. Like, even if I didn't think that the AirPod Max Pros were gonna sell well, and then they were sold out.
The difference, though, the VR thing is that you can't bring this outside. You know what I mean? It's not a fashion. Yeah. You know what I mean? You can't show off your VR headset. True. It's something that's
There's
at
a lot
home,
of influencers. Right? I mean, it's marketing from influencers, though, and it's branding from influencers. Because look, like, I don't know anybody who. I only know one person who has a pair of AirPod Max Pros, and they are an influencer. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I don't know any normal people who have these things. It's usually influencers or somebody. Oh, hold on, I think I lost your audio for a second.
Are you sure? Can you still hear me?
Yeah, no, there you. Okay. I got you now. Yeah, it'll sell well, and like we both said, it's ideally this is so that they're hoping to sell a bunch, and I'm assuming they're hoping to sell a bunch ongoing, so that they can fund their AR development, because they do believe that AR is the future. I believe so too. Maybe not for entertainment's sakes, but for just general use. You know what I mean? I think AR is the future.
Yeah.
Interested to see what it's going to look like. It's probably going to look really good.
It's going to look fashionable. I mean, that's the thing with Apple.
It's going to be white. That's for sure.
White or silver. I mean, that's the Apple aesthetic, right? White or silver. All right, let's move on to the next one. We have Apex Legends Season 8 launch trailer came out, kind of showing off the new character Fuse and tying in the storyline with him, and kind of showing how the map is probably going to change due to this kind of story point. What do you think of the trailer, and are you looking forward to season 8?
Yeah, very action packed. It seems like they're putting more of an emphasis on faster paced gameplay and more like just more intense action packed gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
I love this guy's full name. His name is Walter Fuse Fitzroy. He's like just like every other legend on Apex Legends. This guy's got a huge backstory where he comes from and all those things. So it looks a lot of fun. Let's look at his abilities for a second. So his tactical ability is an airburst grenade. He launches an explosive grenade from his arm. His passive ability is that he gets to hold more grenades, which is handy. So really an emphasis on explosives here. His ultimate is the Mother Load, sorry, which he launches a mortar. When fired at, this explodes and leaves a ring of flames on the floor. So it seems like the kind of character that you would take sight with or like control terrain with a lot better. Mm-hmm. There's going to be an anniversary collection event. And if anybody's wondering, the season starts on February 2nd. I believe there is a new gun as well. Give me a second to confirm that. Some changes to King's Canyon, I think. Here we go. Yes, it introduces the 30-30 repeater, a lever action rifle that prioritizes precision fire, precision over fire rate. Sorry, and it uses heavy ammo similar to the existing Wingman or Hemlock weapons. And then there's going to be some Wraith and Horizon nerfs as well. Wraith is a character that's always getting nerfed. I wouldn't say that this got me excited to play the game again. I'm just excited to play the game in general because it's just a good game, you know. I wouldn't like this didn't make me want to play it more or anything. I don't know. Like for me the announcement was whatever. It was like, yeah, another season. It is what it is. I'm already a player. They don't have to win me over. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I don't think that this trailer won any new players over. I think it may have gotten some old players excited, or maybe most people are in the majority. Maybe the majority is thinking the same as me, where it's like, who cares? Whatever, cool. Let's keep playing the game. They're still going to play the game, you know? They're not going to not play the game.
Yeah. Just keep current players interested with something new, and then possibly bring back people who maybe fell off a little bit, but it's not going to be a game changer in terms of all these people coming in to play it.
Yeah. Well, while we're on that topic, I may as well bring up some other Battle Royale news. Mm-hmm. Which is that Epic announced a Fortnite competitive 2021 schedule with a $20 million prize pool. Jeez. But it doesn't really break it down that well here. But it's not obviously going to be like one competition, $20 million, because the one thing I've noticed is that there's multiple. Is this actually though? Okay, no. So it's split across. Yeah. Epic is so it's in 2021. The EU is they're going to get $1,350,000. They've broken it down into areas like Asia's getting 150,000. I'm guessing, yeah, the EU's got the biggest. North America East has got 960,000, and North America West has got 300,000. I would have figured that there were more players on the West than the East, but. Oh, well, it is what it is. I feel like these are competitions that are happening in-game as well, which is cool. So anyone can, like, enter into them. And then while we're at it, Valorant, which is not a Battle Royale, but it's a free-to-play game. Yeah. I feel like it's kind of in that same genre. It's a free-to-play game with microtransactions. We may have spoken about this on the last podcast, which is what there's a new agent. I don't know if we spoke about him.
Yeah.
Yeah, Yoru, he's been some sick plays, but since then, so
didn't you say he needs to be nerfed? Didn't you say he
definitely needs to be nerfed? 100% needs to be nerfed. But there was a pretty big patch in Valorant this past week that nerfed the character Jet, where her smokes now last a lot shorter because her smokes were lasting too long, and she's not really meant to be a character that smokes that much. She's supposed to initiate, so they nerfed her, and they made significant, huge changes to the map called Split, which is going to really change up the esports scene and competitive scene as well. And I'm happy with most of the changes. A couple of changes I'm not too happy with. A site Heaven has some changes I'm not too happy with. B site had a lot of changes that I'm very happy with. But yeah, a lot of things going on in Valorant at the moment too with those updates, which is quite interesting.
Cool.
Oh, you know what? Sorry, this is also Battle Royale related, which is Oh man, I lost the article now, but its talks is to there's it looks like they're still trying to figure out who's going to be taking over development for Call of Duty Warzone. It's not going to be Infinity Ward, so they're looking at who's going to be continuing the development of Warzone moving forward. They've been very quiet about that as well, which I figured they would have just kept the same developers. It's interesting to be switching to like a studio or team.
Yeah.
With like imagine if like Fortnite decided like to go from Epic Games to like Bethesda or something, you know? I don't know. It's so interesting.
Because they already have the experience and knowledge and the insight on what makes it tick and what's working, what's not working, all
Exactly,
that
yeah.
stuff.
Because they've been very like quiet with patches and updates lately, so people are wondering what's going on. And I think that there was they did mention a studio, but I lost the article now. But so that's interesting to see how Warzone's going to change with the change in leadership, you know?
All right. The next subject or topic, actually, we did get an update since we. So it's actually there's one thing that benefits of us re-recording. So originally, Microsoft changed the Xbox Live Gold pricing, so there'd be more expensive for people. And basically, the whole point of that was to force people into getting Game Pass. I mean, not force them by gun, but like the value that you have paying for Live Gold is like. It's almost like, why not just get Game Pass then? Because Game Pass includes Live Gold anyways. So it's one of those things that like people are like, okay, we see what you're doing. You know, you're forcing people to get Game Pass, even though some people still want to just like I just got Game Pass, so I actually originally was in that crowd where I only had Live Gold, so that I could play games online and whatnot and get the free couple games a month or whatever. But they've decided to reverse the decision because people are upset. So there must have been at least somewhat of a group of people, a significant portion of the audience or the base that really didn't want Game Pass, that they were satisfied with paying slightly lower pricing for Xbox Live Gold to do what they want to do, but they wanted to so they reversed their decision. I mean, it definitely was just a push because it made no sense at that point. I mean, it's still almost kind of weird just paying for Live Gold, but I guess if you really want to save that extra few dollars a month,
it doesn't make sense to me. Like if you're looking to save a few extra dollars a month, maybe use your AC less or try to not to leave the lights on in the house, But like, man, it's such a good deal. I mean, we talk about it all the time, but Game Pass really is a good deal, especially now that EA plays a part of it too. So your library is huge. I think I spoke about it last night, which is I had Xbox Game Pass. Was it Ultimate? Yeah, I had Ultimate because I wanted to get EA Play, but I found out that because I don't have an Xbox, I'm just using Xbox Game Pass for PC. But I found out that at some point this year, EA Play is getting added to Game Pass for PC. So I downgraded my subscription because obviously it's useless unless I have an Xbox. But it's a good deal, man. On it, like I said it before, and I'll say it again. If you're a streamer starting out and you don't have a big catalog of games to play, get Xbox Game Pass for PC. Deal. It's such and like you can stream all those games. You have a bigger catalog to choose from. They're constantly adding new stuff. They are constantly taking things away as well, which is kind of sad. I think Final Fantasy 15 is going away soon. But they just added Control. Like they just added Control instead now, and it's like, look, Final Fantasy 15 came out. Well, I want to say 3 years ago. No, 4 years ago, somewhere around there.
Yeah,
could be wrong, but either way, like it's a good deal. I don't know.
But none of their first party stuff will ever go away, like Halo, Gears, the Outer Worlds. Like now they bought Bethesda. We don't know, Skyrim, Fallout, all that stuff is all going to be on Game Pass.
It's coming soon. Yeah,
it's such a good deal.
Fallout 76 is already on Game Pass, but we're going to definitely be getting the rest of like the Fallout and the Fallout series. I mean, look, it's just a matter of time before Skyrim's on Game Pass as well,
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like, it's almost worth it to buy, let's say, an Xbox Series X, and then just get Game Pass, and that's it. And you don't even have to buy any games ever, you know what I mean?
Or even the Series S, if you want to be on a budget.
Yeah. So, anyway, so that's what's happening with that. This was just a small funny thing. Nintendo Switch accounted for 87% of all consoles sold in Japan 2020, which is hilarious. I mean, PS4 came in second place with 543,000, PS5 over 255,000 units. Xbox has never been popular in Japan, and even if they have now quote unquote corrected some of the things that the Japanese audience didn't care for, which was like they didn't like the larger console, they didn't like the larger controller. A lot of JRPGs weren't on the Xbox platform, but at this point, like, most of that stuff has been fixed, and you can't really complain about console size anymore because the PS5 is huge, just like the Xbox Series X is huge. So, and the controllers now, Xbox controllers have minimized the size. PS has gone up in size, so they kind of hit this medium point where they're both around the same size nowadays. But it's just funny that Nintendo Switch is like, that's how many units they sold in Japan, and that's how popular it is.
What I think is interesting here is, because I was actually I completely missed this last time I read this article, which is that Nintendo has accounted for almost 50% of all boxed game sales in 2020. So like, that's crazy well, actually, hold on, no, that's normal. Sorry, but yeah. So the number one being Animal Crossing, of course, but the second game that sold the most physical copies in Japan was the Ring Fit Adventure game. Which did you even have you heard of that, or do you know about it?
No.
It's you literally have this, like, it looks like a little wheel.
Oh yeah, I think I heard about that.
You're doing exercises and stuff with the Nintendo Wii, and that sold really well. Like, the second highest physically bought game in Japan for 2020.
Yeah,
and it's also in the US it is, it's the best-selling console in the US for 25 consecutive months, but that is up until December. That's not including January.
Mm-hmm. The thing about, I don't have a Nintendo Switch. There's rumors of a Nintendo Switch Pro coming out this year. It's not because the games don't look good or anything. I just never been a mobile gamer, like on my phone or my tablet. Every time I get a game and I'll play it for a little bit, and then I'll just end up, I don't know. I'm just much more of if I'm going to play a game, I want to sit down either in front of a TV or my computer and sit there and play. I'm just not someone that travels. But for people who love to play mobile games and also play on their TV, the Nintendo Switch is a great device. And then also, I think we talked about this before, was now you can, or not now, but it also has all the apps like a Netflix or HBO Max or Hulu or whatever on there. So it's not quite a tablet, but it's a media consumption device. So if maybe you don't require a lot of the other things on a tablet you need to do, but you only care about kind of watching videos or whatnot, YouTube and stuff like that, then it's a great alternative, because then now you have gaming, mobile game device, TV game device, plus a media consumption device, which, I think
it might be a game changer for them. I don't know if it would be difficult to pull off, but because it is a touch screen, what's really stopping them from integrating it into the mobile network so people can get, say, for instance, Angry Birds or something? I
think it's just OS.
Probably licensing issues, though, I guess.
And OS, the apps are all Android apps are made for Android. Apple apps are made for Apple. You need either an emulator or Nintendo. I don't think Nintendo gives crap about that type of stuff.
Yeah, no, that's true. It wouldn't. It's not like they need something to help them sell the console. The console's doing great. It's one of those things where if I had the money for it, I would get it. Currently, if I had the money lying around for a Nintendo Switch, I would still be in a position where I would have difficulty choosing between a Switch and a Quest 2.
Yeah.
I probably would get the Quest 2, yeah. That's the one that I'm leaning towards, but I do like mobile gaming, where I do find a lot of comfort in being able to lie down, get more comfortable, I don't want to be in this position where I have to feel competitive or upright, which is nice. Sometimes you just like to mellow out on the couch and play some games,
Yeah, for me, it's definitely the Quest 2, because it's a different experience. I mean, yes, with Nintendo, there's different games on there you can't play anywhere else, and you can play mobile or whatever. But ultimately, it is the similar. You're playing on a on a screen, whether here or here. It's same type of controls. Where VR experiences, it's a whole different thing. It's something you can't replicate with a console.
Oh my gosh, I'm blind. Sorry, I just found that article again where from Warzone that I was talking about. The studio that is that they're looking at is Raven Software, which
Okay.
I don't really know of, but Raven Software.
I've heard
is most
of them.
likely,
Let me look at
Yeah.
what they've done.
they're most likely going to be taking over the development for Warzone.
Let's see. Yeah, I remember them.
Raven Software.
Yeah, I remember this logo. Well, it says they were collaborating with Infinity Ward on Call of Duty Ghosts in May of 2013.
Okay, so they do have some experience in it. That's good. Oh, I can actually see here. Yeah, they did in 2020 Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, lead developer on the campaign.
They did Call of Duty Online, Chinese Call of Duty title called Call of Duty
X-Men
Online.
Origins Wolverine, dude, that was such a good game. What?
So
I
mean,
love
at
that
least
game,
least
man.
they have experience in the Call of Duty universe, and they've been working with Infinity Ward before. So at least it's not like a total.
They also did
change.
Wolfenstein, which is quite cool. So yeah, no, high hopes for that. Interesting. I'm interested to see what changes they're gonna do.
Cool.
You want to talk about your interactive thriller?
Yeah, this was just something I just threw in there. There's a game / interactive thriller called I Saw Black Clouds. It's full FMV, full motion video. We talked about kind of Bandersnatch-esque. I mean, I don't know exactly what the controls are like and the decision making are like in this, and if it goes beyond what Bandersnatch is, or is it pretty similar? I watched it. It's kind of a more of a horror thriller, psychological thriller type of thing. It stars some actors from TV shows like Penny Dreadful, Outlander, and whatnot. But it's going to be on PS4, Xbox One, Switch, on PC, on Steam. I think we got into a bigger conversation, more of like what niche this fills and what the kind of audience is for this, because this company or this publisher, Wales Interactive, has made similar games like this before, like the Complex, 5 Dates, the Bunker, and whatnot. And so even though I've never heard of any of these games, there's obviously an audience, big enough audience for them to sustain this, this style, which I was surprised that it was that. Maybe big is not the right word, but that there's big enough audience for that.
Yeah, I've heard of the Bunker before, which they did only because I had friends audition for that. It's one of those things where why release it on console? It just seems like something that would do better on Netflix or YouTube, like if you make a deal with them. But then I do read up on this, and it seems like, okay, look, I don't think it's going to be that different from, obviously, besides the actual story and the actors, that's going to be very different. But I don't think that the feeling's going to be that different from Bandersnatch. You know what I mean? It seems like it'll be a bit more intense. Okay, they say here that your choices are moral choices. They're going to be moral dilemmas. You know what I mean? So it's, if anything, it'll be more difficult to make those decisions. I think of games like the Telltale series, like the original Walking Dead Telltale game. You had to make some real tough choices in that game, so it seems like it's just going to be really difficult decisions to make. I do like the fact that like they kind of like it tracks your actions, and then it puts you into like 5 personality traits: honesty, strength, morality, tact, and introspection. And then your activity is also categorized as displaying either denial, acceptance, or guilt. So it's almost like a freaking study into you, the player. You know what I mean?
So a psychological test.
Yeah, like it's like I told you last night. I don't think that this is gonna. I think that this looks like the kind of thing that's gonna make its money back. but it looks like the kind of thing that would have made more money had they made a deal with a bigger like streaming service. Like, well, Netflix had Bandersnatch, so honestly, what I think would have been smart is if they went to a competitor like Hulu and said, "Hey, you guys don't have a Bandersnatch. Would you like to have your own interactive movie? You know what I mean, or your own?" But yeah, I don't know. It didn't catch my eye. Like I watched the trailer as well. First of all, the actors are great. You know what I mean? They did a very good job. But there's nothing really capturing my eye about this experience. You know?
Yeah,
Which I guess is what it is.
I mean, I don't want to downplay. I don't want to downplay the experimentation. It's always great when companies experiment with different genres and different mediums and pushing the things forward. I'm not negating that. I think that's a good thing. And who knows? Maybe if I played this, it'd be awesome. What's up?
I completely missed this. This is for me a bit of a game changer because usually when you get these types of things, because I was thinking to myself like, the Bandersnatch is amazing, but if you're a Twitch streamer, you can't stream the Bandersnatch. But this is fully streamable. There's a streamer mode. You can actually stream your gameplay throughout this, essentially a movie. So I think
basically you're going to interact with the audience and be like, hey, what should we choose? Let's choose this or that or whatever.
I like that, actually. That does, for me, that's like a huge winning feature for me. There's a dedicated streaming mode, which will automatically pause the game when choices are presented, allowing creators to... Yeah, that's awesome. That for me is a winning point for sure.
Cool. All right, let's move on. This is my last thing, is that some Johnny Silverhand concept art for Cyberpunk 2077, but this is Johnny Silverhand before Keanu Reeves. So you guys can look that up. You can take a look. I mean, essentially, it's a similar design in terms of his clothing and his overall look with the long black hair and the sunglasses, cybernetic arm, and all that stuff. But you mentioned this one, compared to Keanu Reeves, had a different type of look or feel to it.
Well, I mean, but the body is it's just Johnny Silverhand, you know what I mean? But the face, it's a bit skinnier. It's almost like a bit more skeleton-like to me. But right off the bat, it just looks more punk. I don't know how to explain it. Like he looks like he chain smokes. Well, it's funny because he looks more like the character than Keanu. Like this guy's face that they created looks like he chain smokes. Like 100%, he looks like a chain smoker. He looks like he was in a punk band. He looks like he's like
definitely looks like
he should be in the Ramones or something. He also like oddly looks British, like he should be in some weird like British punk band or something. Like it also like makes me think of like an alternate history of like where Alan Rickman is a badass, you know? Like I don't know why. It has like some weird Alan Rickman vibes to it as well. I like it though. I wouldn't want it to be like this because I think I really enjoyed Keanu as Johnny Silverhand. But man, I would love like a mod or something where I could see this face in game because it's very character heavy. Like
you'd have to get a different voice though because Keanu's voice is so distinct.
Hell yeah. Go for a British voice, man. It seems like looks like this guy's got a British voice, like a really rough.
I think you nailed it when you said he looks like he's from a punk band. He looks like he'd be in the Ramones or something like that, like the extra
100%,
member.
yeah. That's crazy, yeah. So that's cool. I got a couple short things to bring up here as well. Cool. It's not gaming related, but because it's Twitch related, I think it's funny, which is that Twitch decided to follow Twitter and everybody else and ban Donald Trump indefinitely. Yeah. It's not like he's going to be using it after after his presidency, but yeah, they've indefinitely banned him, which I think.
Well, the thing is, he's trying to find some sort of avenue to reach out to his fan base.
That's true. And then this is something that I'll actually I'll probably, you know what? Let me link it right now, just because I think it's quite interesting. I'm gonna drop this in the not for you, but I'm gonna drop this right now in the Revog Discord. So for those of you who are listening or watching to this, we have a Discord that you guys can join. There should be a link in the description below, and I'm just going to post this article into the general chat. And it's basically someone just you can actually look at it yourself as well. Someone made an RTX 3080 shoe. It's a little. They look sick. Like I actually wish I could wear them, but you can't wear them because it's an actual computer. And if you're wondering why, I don't know why. No one knows why. They decided to build a little miniature computer, Like it looks sick, whatever it is, but it looks like it's just a little mini computer. Okay, this is very interesting because I enjoy this game. There's a game called Golf with Your Friends, and Team 17 bought the game for £12 million, which
Jeez.
obviously means that we're going to see a lot of DLC in the future. But 12 million, like, look, it's a good game, but I don't know, like I didn't think that it would get sold for that much. You know what I mean?
A lot of things get
Um,
sold for tons of money that I never imagined. I'm trying to think of the first one that like really blew my mind. That like was like really that much, for that. And now it's like
16.4 million USD. The acquisition would mean, yeah, some extra DLC. That's about it. Like I would understand if they took the team with them, but that's just for the game and the assets. It's a fun game, but man, I wouldn't have evaluated it at like £12 million. That's insane. Um, let's see. Oh, this is just not worth talking about, just worth mentioning, which is that Activision Blizzard, also known as Acti Blizzard, also known as the company that I loathe. Even though I do like some of their games, I just loathe their business practices.
mhm.
They are currently valued at $72 billion, and it is mostly attributed to COVID-19 and microtransactions.
That's
Those played
crazy.
they do say
You're
that played
talking
a
about
key factor.
Star Wars was bought by Disney for $4 billion. Marvel was like $4 billion. It like, and then
So Acti Blizzard, man, it's a $72 billion enterprise now. And I think that's more from Activision's side than Blizzard. Blizzard doesn't have a lot of microtransactions, so it's definitely more Activision side of things. Um, yeah, like that's definitely where the money came in, microtransactions from Activision. And then this was like exciting for, like, that's for me and you, not really gaming related, but Conor McGregor's coming back to the UFC.
yes,
Could be
tonight.
cool,
Tonight I'm
Yeah.
gonna be watching it. It's an exciting time. UFC.
I'm really excited for it as well. So that's gonna be awesome. I did not think he was gonna come back, and I was really sad when he said he was like retired or whatever. But
Dude,
now
he
he's
said
back.
he was gonna
I'm
retire like
looking
5
forward to it.
times already. I never,
That is
I never
very
believed
true as
him
well.
once.
I can't wait for him to do. I just.
I'm
Can't
a
wait for
fan
the
of
shit
him, but
talking.
I don't like when people say they're going to retire. Like Kevin Smith, I'm a fan of. We did comic book shopping with him, but he said he was going to retire like how many years ago, and he's still doing. I want him to keep doing so. I don't believe.
Yeah.
I don't
I'm
believe.
glad he didn't, because I liked the new Jay and Silent Bob movie. It wasn't. I don't think it was an amazing movie, and it wasn't nearly as good as the old movies. But I liked the new Jay and Silent Bob movie. It was entertaining.
The only people
know?
who I believe that actually retire are athletes. Athletes past their prime, right? Like
Yeah.
over 40 or whatever.
I-
But anyone
I
retiring
think
that's like
David
30
Beckham
something.
retired. When David Beckham retired, it was one of those things where it was like he was getting old, and like everyone's like, oh, he can't keep up, and it's like I think he just retired out of choice, because like for years after his retirement, he's still one of like the best players in the world. He's just like, I made my money, I married a Spice Girl, I'm done. GG no re. And then this is I mentioned this yesterday, and there's actually some extra news about this that's come out from this, which is that Activision has merged with Vicarious Visions. They've essentially like just merged the studio into Activision. And if you guys don't know Vicarious Visions, they did the remake. They did the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 remake. So I thought it was just worth mentioning. But then I also saw that Vicarious Visions is working on a Diablo 2 remake. And at first when I read this, I was like, what? How? And then I was like, oh, right, because they got acquired. They just got acquired by they got absorbed into Blizzard and Activision. So now they have access to that IP. So I'm looking forward to a Diablo 2 remake. I think that's going to be quite fun and be quite interesting. This is a topic that me and you can talk about, because we spoke about it last night, which is that they call it the game stonk. GameStop's stock price
yeah.
soared to new records.
And
So
it was
yeah,
all
their stock
purely
price
because
went up.
of Reddit, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that the whole thing? Like, it was like they were trying to counteract. I mean, GameStop is, let's just face it, it is a close to bankrupt business because, they're getting killed by online sales, and, and then now with the pandemic, it's,
I think
even
like
making.
was it 4chan or Reddit? It seems like
I believe it was
Reddit.
Reddit. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
basically
it's just so weird, man.
they artificially pumped up the stock price. I mean, that they had to stop selling. They had to close because it was like being artificially.
Artificially up. It's one of those things where, like, if you're playing the stock market game, if you were able to get in, if you were watching like the stocks and you saw this rise and you managed to buy as it was rising and then you sold like literally the next day or like today even, you know what I mean? You probably would have made some decent money from that transaction. You know what I mean? A 72% increase is it's big. You know, I mean, I think the biggest increase I've ever seen on stocks was Take-Two Interactive, which had a 600% increase after they released GTA 5. You know, which is amazing. Imagine like investing 10 grand into Take-Two Interactive, and then they release GTA 5, and all of a sudden you've got $600,000.
But that's a legitimate reason for stock to go up, right? Because they're doing something that is just profitable, control, you know? Right? That's profitable. That indicates profitability and more profits and making the company bigger and whatnot. This was purely just speculation, just a coordinated thing. I mean, that's the thing is you can't coordinate buying or selling stock because then it influences the stock's prices and it's artificial. And that's why they ended up stopping it, because you can't be like, hey guys, everyone, let's all get together and buy this stock, and then the price will rise, and then we'll wait till this point, and then we'll sell it all. I mean, that's illegal.
It seems like that's why they actually reached out to this guy who's known as Wall Street's bounty hunter. They like reached out to him to help out the situation. This has been known. They're calling it an ambush on the stocks. It's just crazy. Like it was just funny news when you brought it up to me, because when you mentioned it to me, I was like, wait, what? We were talking about the people who try to turn their venues into social spots right before COVID-19. We're talking about that GameStop, right?
Yes.
Oh man.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Which is it's going to be a hard transition if they're going to do that, you know. So.
Oh, and then one last little bit of Resident Evil news, which is that you will not be seeing Ethan's face as usual, which I believe means also reflections. You will not be seeing your face.
It's interesting.
But
just
that's
about
it.
Even Cyberpunk 2077 is first person perspective, but you can go look at they made a mechanic that you can go look in the mirror and look at what you look like, because you're wearing all kinds of weird crap.
Unless you're on PS4.
Yeah. That's a whole different conversation. Well, at least you can. At least in the inventory, you can look at yourself, right?
Can't you only see yourself if you have like ray tracing on or something?
No,
because
I don't have ray tracing on.
Because I don't see my reflection in like building windows and stuff. You know.
Well, I think that's a different. No. I think that's a different story. That's like they don't do that because of resource issues. But if you that would go like to an actual mirror where you want to look at yourself, you can.
Yeah, and then you do that thing where you lean in forward, and then for some reason this is the only angle you can see your guy at. Oh man.
Yeah. So is that it?
That's it. Yeah, it was a pretty slow week. Not a lot of gaming news. More like gaming business and adjacent news
stuff. Yeah.
So like stuff that relates more on the business end of the deal. Good. I'm excited about Resident Evil Village. Hitman 3 is out right now if you're interested in playing it. And let us.
What are you playing right now?
You know what? I'm playing a lot of Valorant, all day, every day. I've managed to find myself a full team, so we're constantly playing, doing runs, doing drills. I've also been playing a lot of city management games, just because I recently had a very a craving for it. So I've been playing Anno 1800, which is a great city playing game based in the 1800s, and then I've been playing City Skyline as well. Anno 1800 came out last year, 2019, so it's not that old, but yeah, I don't know, I had a really weird itch for it, and I wanted to play SimCity, and I tried that, and the new SimCity was horrible, so I had to find alternatives.
Cool. You guys can find me on Twitter at ThinkHero or Instagram dennis.tzng. Make sure we have our Discord, our rebranded Revog Discord. you can join that. That's in the description. You can click on that link. Also, we're still trying to figure out a place to host the audio feed as a podcast. I know it's been a couple months since we've done that. We kind of lost our previous provider. So if you have any suggestions for any free or cheap podcast hosting, let me know. Post in the comments or on Discord or whatever. And any kind of things that you want us to cover. That's it for me. Josh, you got anything?
Yeah, let us know in the comment section if you guys think that the woman from Resident Evil are sexy or intimidating, or both.
On that note, all right. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you guys next time.
See you next time.